Moving to the other side of the world is tough. We know this from our own experience of moving to Australia during a global pandemic. To help you decide whether a life down under is for you, this series aims to share with you the highs and the lows of the migration journey, hoping to help and inspire you to make the move yourself. If you're already thinking about moving to Australia or you're not sure where to start, then this episode is sponsored by True Blue Migration Services. Speak to them today and mention us and you will get a free visa assessment where they'll be able to tell you all of your options for moving to this beautiful country. Speak to them now on their website at truebluemigration.com. Our guests today moved to Australia not once, but twice, and have become what's affectionately known as a Ping Pong Pom. If you already managed to make the move to Australia, what drives you to want to make you move back to your original country? And then what does it take to want to move back down under again? What lessons are you going to learn from the whole process? I guess we're going to find out. G'day Chris, how's it going?
Not too bad, mate. How are you?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm 33 and I moved my family over from the UK to Australia. We live in Melbourne and I've been backwards and forwards a couple of times as well.
Tell us about this backwards and forwards. Why have you been backwards and forwards to Australia?
It's a long story. It involves many factors.
We've got time.
Yeah, we've got time, yeah. I guess I should start from the beginning.
When did you first move over?
So I first moved over in January 2012.
And what was the family situation like then?
I had a partner, but no kids. No, not many responsibilities, so that side of the move was fairly straightforward.
Living the dream.
Yes, mate. I made the decision early.
What made you want to move to Australia then?
Basically, I finished my apprenticeship and I was a year out and I was really unhappy with where I was working. And I just did a quick Google search, just looking for jobs in my area, and Australia kept popping up. Literally 4 tabs of the top Google searches were Australia looking for panel beaters.
Crying out for panel beaters in 2012.
Yeah, and I just thought, you know what, I'll put a few feelers out there, see what comes of it. I messaged a few different people, sent my CV, and within 3 weeks, I had about 4 people trying to employ me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess some people wish the job market was like that at the moment, but I guess we're in Australia, we are still crying out for lots of people in lots of different trades.
Yeah, absolutely.
What visa did you come over on?
So I initially come over on a 457 long stay business visa. That was a sponsored visa within the company that employed me. They actually sponsored me to come over.
Okay. And was that like a 2-year temporary thing, 4-year temporary?
It was a 4-year visa, but after 2 years, I could apply for permanent residency. If my company did their end as well, they had to sponsor me again for PR.
And how did that go? Did you get the sponsorship?
Yes, yeah. I actually had to, the company that employed me to start with, they put me in touch with visa people. They put me in touch. I had to go to and do an assessment day to make sure I had the right skills they were after. So they actually sent me away. I had to do that test. And once I passed that test, they offered me the job and then put me on. The agent who got me in touch with this company, his sister actually dealt with the visas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she lived in
All kept in the family.
Yeah, exactly. They're making a bit of side money out of it. She lived 40 minutes up the road from where I live, so I was actually driving to her house and sorting that out.
Oh, I guess that's the dream for some people, isn't it? Not having to deal with visa agents on the phone. I mean, they make it easy enough nowadays with technology, but just being able to go around someone's house and saying, oh, can you sort this out for me?
Yeah. She was only 40 minutes away in Raynham, so it weren't too stressful on that end. And it happened so quickly. It really happened so quickly. It went from nothing to me going to Australia in 3 months.
Wow.
And then
Wow. That is a quick turnaround.
That is a quick turnaround. I got approved very quickly through the sponsorship. And my company actually, it was by the time I got the job offer and got approved, it was like November. And I just emailed, said, can I spend my last Christmas with my family and then come in the new year? And they were happy with that. So that's what I did.
Awesome. Get that last little cold Christmas in. It's a bit different, isn't it, having a warm Christmas? So what was life like then? 23, moved over with your partner. What was life like in the beginning days of Australia?
I'll be completely honest with you. Within the first 2 weeks, if I'd have had enough money in my bank account, I probably would have come home. I would have gone back to the UK.
Oh,
yeah,
really? Why is that?
I underestimated how hard it would actually be. I moved out of mum and dad's house to live on my own for the first time in a country where I didn't know a single person, and with a company that's got a different, complete model to the way England's set up, so that my workplace was completely different.
Yeah.
So it was very stressful, very homesick for the first month or so. But I stuck with it.
What would you say was the biggest challenge then for you in the first month of living in Australia?
Even though Australia is quite similar to the UK in a lot of ways, like the same side of the road, people are quite similar, same language, obviously. It was just the fact that I didn't know a single person.
How did your partner find it in the first few days, first few months?
Well, I came on my own to start with. So I came in January and she followed me out 5 months later.
I can imagine that would have been tough then.
Yeah, that was
Just
tough. Yeah.
especially if it is you on your own.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 22
Yeah,
at the time as well.
initially when we wanted to move here, we had a similar kind of plan in the works before obviously COVID happened, and then all of the quarantine requirements. That was going to be our initial plan. I was going to come here, sort out housing, accommodation, do all of those things, and then in like a break between the terms, I was going to go back to England because my wife was like, I am not flying to Australia with a 18-month-old on
Yeah.
my own. Like, you are going to have to come and get me. So that was the original plan, purely to be able to do those things and set them up. But I wouldn't have had to have waited for 5 months. That 10 weeks at the most, I think, was kind of our plan. So wow, you're an absolute trooper for doing 5 months on your own in a new city. Everything is completely different. I have to tip my hat to you. Is it literally you didn't have enough money to come back?
Well, a lot of people did point that out to me after, but at the time, I didn't even think about it. I'm quite adventurous. I wanted to get out there, and it was something I wanted to do, so I just did it.
Yeah.
At the time, those first week or so, if I didn't outright have the money to book a flight to come back, that's what it was. And I landed Tuesday morning in Melbourne. Wednesday morning, I went and met
Yeah.
my owner of the company, and then Thursday morning, I started work.
Not even a break. Just
Not even a
straight into
break.
it. Get working.
Yeah.
That's what we got you
Yeah.
here
Yeah,
for.
no, exactly that. I just wanted to stay busy and I wanted to start earning money. That's all it was.
Well,
I was
that's
very
a good
lucky.
thing to think about it. Then I think.
Yeah, I was very lucky in the fact that my work actually provided me with a month's accommodation. So they put me up in an apartment
Yep.
for a month and they rented me a car for 2 weeks.
Help you get on your feet.
Oh, massively. That was like looking back, that was massive.
When we first got here, that was one of the big challenges that we faced, was just trying to find our feet and sort out all the things that you take for granted in your normal life, because you're just living your life. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like, oh, I need a new washing machine. Like, oh, and you know what Australian deliveries are like? Yeah, that's not going to come until the end of the week, mate. You're like, well, I need it now. Like, at least it's a washing machine. I've got enough clothes. But other things, like a fridge. That was another one. Like, oh yeah, well, all right, takeaways for a few days. Like, you can get over it, but you just don't. I can imagine it all just builds up on you, and it gets really, really overwhelming when it's like, oh, I've got to do everything.
Yeah.
Being not single, being a young man on his own in a brand new city, you're like, yeah, that'd be great. But no, we're just gonna plonk you in. And by the way, you got to go to work in a couple of days. Chris, you are a ping pong pom, and for those of us that don't know what one is, can you explain what that means?
So we lived in Australia. I was living in Australia from 2012 to 2018, and then we decided to move back to the UK in 2018. And then quickly after 12 months, realised we made a bad decision, and now we're back in Australia.
Okay, so bring us back then between the 2013 and 2018. Obviously, we had that challenge at first that it was a big move, difficult, especially without your partner there for the first 5 months. What was it like for the first 5 years then?
After my partner came, we got our own. I actually moved in with an Australian couple. I was renting a room from them. They were brilliant. They sort of looked after me in a way, helped me right out. And then my partner came, and then 2 months later, we rented our own place. She got into work. Things fell into place quite quickly. Like, we was both doing really well, enjoying Australia. And then she got pregnant.
Congratulations, I guess.
Yeah, no, it was good.
What made you want to move back to the UK then? After 5 years, two daughters, everything sounds like it's going well.
Yeah, everything was going well. I will say this, homesickness is a thing. I got homesick at times, but I was appreciative what I had in Australia, but my wife was very homesick a lot of the time. Even after having the kids and stuff, after we had our second daughter, she got very homesick.
What was she missing the most?
She's got quite a big family, so she's got three sisters, and it was just the fact that they weren't around. She was very homesick, and she often spoke about going back, but I always no.
Yeah, I guess there's a difference, isn't there, between wanting to go back to visit and then kind of wanting to go back to be with the people, because that's probably what most people get homesick for, right? Isn't it? I mean, no one gets homesick because they want the cold.
No.
You know, they might want a cold day because they really, oh, it's so bloody hot here. Like, I would just fancy a bit of snow, or we never really get snow; it's more sleet. But they want the one-off things that England can provide. The one thing that is a constant, and that I think most people would get homesick for, is family. You don't miss England; you just miss the people that are there.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you could transport them to Australia, that'd be the problem solved, wouldn't it? Or
Well,
what was it like, being in the UK back again after living in Australia?
at the start, it was nice to be around family. I see my friends that I missed in the 6 years I was here. It was good for a little while.
Mm.
We got a rental just before, a month before my son was due. So we managed to set up the house. It was okay for a while, but then it's a strange thing. You might feel the same. It quickly become evident. I was working two jobs. My wife was working night shifts, and we were just making ends meet.
We found it exactly the same just before we were moving, and we were thinking, if we wanted a better life where we were, just living in the southeast of England, it's just so unaffordable. Everything is so expensive. Housing is so expensive. If you want a nicer, bigger house, I mean, if you compare them to what the houses are like in Australia, our thing was a unit. It was tiny, and that was the 3-bed semi-detached houses that most of us grew up in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we were renting, we called it our mouldy shoebox, because it had a really bad mould problem, and we were paying £1,150 a month to live there.
Yeah, I know that Melbourne is expensive, and I guess having been used to Melbourne prices for the last 5 years, your mouldy shoebox probably seemed a lot of money for not a lot of value.
We moved from a 3-bedroom, detached garden, double garage, ensuite, outdoor eating area to a little mouldy shoebox, and it was a big culture shock.
Was that more expensive as well, the Melbourne house, than obviously what you got in Essex? Or which one was more expensive?
The mouldy shoebox was more
Oh
expensive.
my, that is terrible. There's one bad thing then. So you've moved back for family, and that is definitely a valid reason, but the housing is worse. What were you working in Melbourne? I bet you weren't working 2 jobs.
No, definitely not. Monday to Friday, 7:30 till 5. That was it. Never did a day at the weekend the whole time I was here.
What did your wife do?
She's in the care industry, and she started off as aged care, but she come over, she did disability care, and then she quickly moved into the office, and she was doing that 3 days a week and then 1 day at the weekend.
That's what Sam does when she came here. She used to work as a TA in a special needs school, and then with her qualifications from that, ironically, it was more difficult to get work in education, like in special education. So she just found some job adverts for disability support work, and she showed in their qualification. She's like, "Oh, that's quite a good qualification. You're on the top of the pay band." And she was like, "Sweet, let's do that."
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, I was working. I was doing 8 till 5:30 every day, panel beating, and then my friend ran another panel shop up the road. And 3 days a week, I was leaving work, going there. It was 5 minutes, and I'd work there till 10:30. 3 times a week.
Just to make ends meet.
When I say make ends meet, I mean we had money for fish and chips once a month as a family. My son was born, that was great, and then I think I lasted 12 months, and I said, I want to go back to Australia, I can't do this anymore.
Exactly. Like that's the sad fact though, isn't it? That so many people in England, in the UK right now, across the world even, are working all of these hours that God sends them. For what? Like, yes, to be with your friends and family, but what, so you can all live in a pants situation? Like,
it feels like the UK sort of set up so you're constantly living month to month and chasing your tail a bit. Here in Australia, obviously the pay's a lot better. Like, we get paid, we do the same jobs pretty much, and we've got money left over at the end of the month.
Money to save as well.
Currently, like, we're not obviously well off, but we pay everyday bills, we pay our rent, we're still private renting at the minute, quite a nice life. We're saving for a mortgage, and we're able to go on holiday.
I was going to say, is the dream to be able to buy your own house? And do you reckon that could have been a dream in England? A
house in the southeast, for a 3-bedroom house, ideally with 5 of us now, we need 4. You're looking at £320,000.
I looked on Zoopla the other day at our house that we sold when we moved here. We sold our 3-bed semi-detached for £310,000. just before we left, and I've looked today or the other day at what the value of it is now. I mean, I know house prices have gone up. House prices in Brisbane have gone up, but it's now best part of 400 grand. Just what you can get in other parts of the world for the quality of life, it doesn't compare. So you lasted 12 months?
I lasted 12 months, and I sat my wife down. I said, I can't do this anymore. I think we should go back. And she actually said no. she, as much of a struggle, she was still with her family, and she had a bit more support there with the kids. We didn't get lots of support, don't get me wrong, we did it all ourselves still, but like the odd time someone come round and watch the kids or do whatever, so we had that there.
I know exactly what you're talking about. My mum's over at the moment, which is great to be able to go, hey mum, can you just watch Sierra for a sec? But yeah, when you don't have any support, you can't trade in for that, can you? To have someone there pretty much on your doorstep to whenever you need it.
Like, things carried on for another 2 months, and finally she got fed up, and she said, no, I think we need to move back.
What time of the year was this?
It would have been winter for sure.
Yeah, there you go. End of winter's finally cracked.
When it's miserable, you're driving to work in the dark, coming home in the dark. I said to her, sleep on it 2 nights. Not 1 night, 2 nights, because once we make this decision, we're all in. And she got back to me in 2 nights. She went, no, we're doing it. Then the whole other phase 2.
Yeah, so how would that have worked then? Because you got 3 kids, you don't have the same visa that you're on, but you're permanent residence, but your son isn't.
No. So we did our research, and we actually had to get him transferred onto our permanent residency, which is, I don't remember the full name now, but it's a big visa. It costs £2,600.
You sure pounds or dollars?
No, dollars. No, sorry. But when you factor in the police checks and the medicals and stuff like that, it got up there. We said, if we're going to save and go back to Australia, obviously we need to save as much money as we can. We can't stay here, so we gave out a rental. We actually moved back in with my dad, and there was 5 of us living in a bedroom.
That is a sacrifice to get back here.
That is a sacrifice, and that was a sacrifice we had to make, because otherwise that £1,100 now went into savings to get back to Australia. We had to get resident return visas for our PR as well, because we've been out of the country for about over a year or so as well, and our PR was going to run out because they're only valid for 5 years.
And those resident return visas they aren't cheap either.
Yeah, I think that was $450 each.
Have you got your citizenship yet?
We applied and paid for it, and we were just waiting for our ceremony day. But then we had to shoot back to the UK, so we lost it all. We were waiting for months. I would say 2 weeks after we got back to the UK, we got the email to say, come in for your test. You have to do the test. Yeah, and we weren't there. I actually asked them if I could do it at the Australian Embassy in London. They said no.
So you're in your dad's place. You're all living in the 1 bedroom. How long did it take to save everything up and manage to get back over here?
So we got my son's visa together. We paid for that. We got all the documentation. I sent it off at the post office. The next day, the UK went into lockdown for COVID.
Mate, you've had a string of luck, haven't you?
And I got an email for a couple of days later to say they've received it. But now we're in the queue for it to be looked at, the visa. Then I received another email about 2 weeks later saying they've shut the embassy until further notice.
When did it all finally get approved then?
So we were in lockdown. I was still working, thankfully, as a key worker. Apparently everyone needs their cars fixed, so I was very lucky. I managed to stay in the job and keep earning, and it was brilliant because my missus couldn't go out and spend any money.
Online. They're still doing deliveries.
Yeah, they were. I lied to her. I said it weren't working.
Turn the internet off every time you leave the house.
So we actually managed to save quite a bit of money, and it got to the point where the UK had opened up again.
What was that, like the August when we were all told to go and eat out to help out, and then it bloody spread it again?
Yeah, exactly. And they were all making you queue outside the restaurants and letting you in table by table, and
coughing on each other.
You had to wear the mask to get in, but the second you're in, you could take it off.
Yeah, COVID doesn't exist if you're sitting down, mate. You're fine.
Yeah, no.
1.5 metres.
Yeah, everyone's fine. I can't cough that far. You're fine.
Yeah, it's ridiculous thinking back about it now, isn't it? And now he's the Prime Minister, so hey, good luck.
So we tried to call the embassy, but the only number available to us was an actual Australian number. Basically, they just said, oh, you've got to wait. You just wait like everyone else. We've got a backlog of this many people now. We waited and waited and waited. I just one day had an idea to email that generic email that I got to say that they received our application. Like, it was almost like a do not respond email. I just emailed it anyway and explained the situation. Yeah. And lo and behold, I got an email back from the manager of the Australian embassy. Explained our situation. I know you're all very busy. Hope you're all well. Blah blah blah. We're living in a bedroom. We're giving up hope. Is there anything I can do to speed the process up? Can we help at all? Like, laid it on as thick as I could. And lo and behold, I got a message back saying, thank you for your email. Yeah, we'll look into it. And then a week later, he got a case manager for his visa.
Mate, it works. Perseverance works. Make your own luck.
Exactly. If you want it enough, you get things done. Day after we booked our flights back to Australia, we were just, that was it. We were done. We were there. Did the necessary paperwork, quarantine paperwork.
How was quarantine with 3 kids?
Yeah, it weren't as bad as you think, to be honest. But we booked the flights for something like the 3rd of September. I'd quit my job. I was getting ready. And we actually got married on the 24th of August before we were due to come back.
Congratulations. Did you manage to get lots of people there for the wedding?
It was a very small wedding. We had to keep costs down. But we did it. It was a nice day. Family and some close friends were there, and it went well. The day after, the flight caps kicked in and they kicked us off our flight.
Your luck literally goes from sky high down to the bottom again.
You can't make it up. Oh, we'd already sent the move cube at this point as well.
Somewhere in the Indian Ocean?
Yeah, somewhere. My toolbox, all my tools.
Did you send that back from Australia as well? So these tools have gone Australia, or UK, Australia, UK, Australia?
Some of them have, yeah. Some of them have. Wow. They've been around the world twice, some of my hammers. Poms and Oz was talking about repat flights, so put on by the government to get Aussies home.
Yep.
And I just said to my wife, apply for that. Apply for that. Hopefully we'd apply twice if you have to. Just do it. And I was actually cleaning out my work car to get ready to give it back, and I've got 5 missed calls on my phone. I answer it, and it was my wife saying, put $5,000 in my account now. I quickly come off, put $5,000 in, and we were booked to go 2 days later than we originally was.
So those repatriation flights, did you have to go to Darwin or something?
I went to Darwin, did our quarantine in Darwin.
We had another guest, Hannah. That's how she ended up getting in. Her and her boyfriend. Is that Howard Springs, isn't it?
Yeah, Howard Springs. Yeah, it weren't that bad. We had 5 rooms because we had to pay for 5 of us, but they were set in blocks of 4. So we just stayed in the 4 rooms, and we had a big veranda, and the kids could run up and down the veranda, and we got the food. And honestly, in that first few days, it was good to sleep off the jet lag, really.
Were you able to do other things like finding jobs and stuff?
Yeah, so I already had a job interview set for 2 days after I got back into Melbourne through people that I knew from where I used to work.
Yep.
And in those 2 weeks, we sorted our driving licences out, ready, booked the appointment. We got Medicare sorted. We bought a car. We'd got a rental sorted. Yeah.
It's almost like, your first experience when you came here and you started work 2 days later. You had a little bit of help from your employer, which is what you absolutely need. For people that are coming over here now, it's kind of like you have to say to them, look, you need a week off. You need 2 weeks off just to sort all of your life out, because if you think you're able to do it without time, I'll get straight into it. Nah. You need a week. You need 2 weeks, preferably. Hey, take 3 weeks off. So at least once you've got your life sorted, you can actually enjoy yourself for a little bit before you actually have to start work.
You do need that time. You need to sort out your Medicare. You need to sort out a tax file number. You need to sort out all these important things before you can actually get a job and start working. But I was very lucky because obviously, being a Pong Pom, I already had my TFN. I already had my Medicare. I just had to renew it all. I would say since we moved back, everything fell into place very quickly.
What do you think was the reason for that?
Just wanting it. Just wanting it to work and willing to sacrifice initially, having that little bit of extra money to come over with, and was able to kit a house out with the essentials. Get into the rental, kit it out with a TV and beds for the kids, bed for us, sofas and stuff.
So is it fair to say when you first came out here, coming to Australia was a little bit of, it was convenient? 10 years ago, it was easy. But that it's in itself was a bit of a problem, in the sense of it didn't allow you to really appreciate what you've got. So, if you're thinking what makes someone successful in their move here, I guess it's reserved for those people that really, really do want it. Like, if you do want it, it will be fine. It will be great. But if you're not sure, like, it's not to say don't come over here and experience and find out. You might find out that you do really want it. But that's where, would you think that's where people can come stuck sometimes?
Absolutely. That's part of the reason why I wanted to come on as well, with someone who's done it, and explain that if it's something that you want to do it. And if you want it, you'll do it and you'll achieve it. It's not easy to come here. It's not. It costs a lot of money. It's a lot of time, a lot of paperwork. It takes a lot of hard work. But when you do it, like you said, if you want it, you'll succeed, and it can offer you so much in return. People who are unsure, I think they might struggle. And people who are extremely close to their family, they'll find it hard, definitely.
You've got to have some real deep core reasons for wanting to be here. Like, what do you value in life? And if that thing you value is what you can get in Australia, that's what's going to keep you here. Like, if you value family and your family isn't in Australia, like you say, that's going to be a problem. For us, it sounds like a similar thing. What I don't value is working my arse off all the hours that God sends me, because I don't have time to spend with my kids. I don't have time to enjoy time with them. But here we can.
Our decision to come back to Australia the second time was based on purely, where do we want our kids to grow up? Where's better for them? We sat down with a literal pen and paper, and everything, Australia ticked all the boxes, apart from the family box. The area where I grew up, it's not a great area. It's not terrible. I turned out all right, don't get me wrong. But if I can provide a better life for my kids, I will do it 10 times out of 10. That comes with sacrifice. I'll be honest, not everyone was happy with our move back to Australia. It just comes down to, you got to look after your family. And me and my wife both felt that we could provide a better life for them here. In 6 months of being here, we've done it already. In those first 6 months, my eldest daughter really struggled with school in the UK, and schooling here is a lot more relaxed, we've found.
A lot less focus on assessment.
Yeah, they let kids be kids. Like, obviously my kids are young still, and she's settled into school and actually don't mind going to school anymore. She likes going to school. In the UK, we had to drag her kicking and screaming. That within itself is justification of coming back.
Absolutely. Just working in education, everything is a lot less stressed. I'm less stressed as a teacher. There's not as much emphasis on having to jump through all of the hoops. Kids learn in lots and lots of different ways. We all do. And actually, do you know what? We don't need all doctors. We don't all need to have that same academic push, because there's just as much value in Australia in trades. People need to do those jobs. You don't need to pass all the tests for those. You need to do different types of things. Someone needs to do it, mate. And in Australia, you will be remunerated and paid very well for doing those jobs if you want to do them.
My job, when I first come out here as a 22-year-old, my wage doubled the day I got here as a panel beater.
If I'm an academic because I went to university and I'm a teacher, I'll tell you now, my wage, it went up, and it went up significantly, but it didn't double. There you go. There's actually more value in a trade, isn't there?
There can be. Like, we're doing okay at the minute, and that's the main thing. Don't think for a second Australia's this laid back surfing. It's really not. I leave for work at 5:10 every day. It's hard graft, but it's the weekends and the evenings. Like, we can go to the beach in the evening, have a beer on the beach, let the kids have a swim. That aspect, you've worked hard all day, but you've got the money in your account, and you've got a beautiful place to explore and enjoy.
And people aren't, having a go at you for wanting to work harder. It's like, no, it's smoker now, or it's the end of the day. Go home, enjoy your family, come back tomorrow.
The Aussies are brilliant, so friendly, banter all the time. It's just a nice place to be. The work environments here are a lot less stressed. You got to work hard, but it's good.
What do you think is the most important thing then that you've learned as a Pong Pom?
There's only one positive I can take out of going back to the UK, and that main positive is we know definitively now we're in the right place. We paid the price, unsettling the kids and taking them back, the costs involved, the hardship while we were in the UK. We've learnt our lesson, and we know where we belong now. almost.
That's a really powerful thing to say, is that we know where we belong.
Yeah, it's already in 6 months. Just the whole family, all 5 of us, were a lot happier, and it was a nice thing.
What are your plans for the future then?
Well, like I said, we're saving for our mortgage. We're hoping to go house hunting at the start of next year.
Hopefully the interest rates will have sorted themselves out for you by then, and many others.
We're in a good position at the minute because we're still renting, but we're seeing what's going to happen with that. So we'll just keep saving our money and start to get ready. And moving past that, it'd be citizenship, and then just see a bit more of Australia.
What bit do you want to see the most?
The first time I was here, for the full 6 years, we never went on one holiday. The only holidays we went were back to the UK for Christmas. In the year and a half that we've been back, we've been to Sydney, we've been to the Gold Coast. Obviously, we see a bit of Darwin through quarantine. So we're going to go back to the Gold Coast this year for a holiday because it's a great place for the family. And then my wife wants to go to Esperance in Western Australia.
So what advice would you have for people wanting to make the move to Australia?
If you want it enough and you're willing to go for it and do the paperwork, spend the money, sort the visas out, do it every time. Don't spend your life wondering what if. Do it. And I think at least 90% of people who do that will love it. It is true. It is truly. It is a beautiful place here, and we're very grateful to be here.
Thanks, Chris, for sharing your journey with us, and I hope it's given you all a greater insight into what it takes to actually move to Australia and why some people, despite it all, feel like they need to move back. If you want to see more of what our life is like in Australia, then make sure you check out our YouTube channel, That Johnston Life. And if you've been inspired to make the move yourself, then make sure you speak to our friends at True Blue Migration Services. The best thing you can do is mention us and receive their free migration assessment, where they'll tell you exactly everything you need to do to make the move to this beautiful country. Follow the hundreds of positive reviews on Google and fill out their free assessment today on www.truebluemigrationservices.com. See you next time.